I was there with the executive of the Toronto Island Residents Association, so there were 6 or 7 of us together there. Um, we knew the sheriff was coming. We used to say we had a mole in the Attorney General's office because it's the Attorney General of Ontario who has to dispatch the sheriff. And we we learned more recently that it was the Attorney General who was the mole. But he was a friend of ours. We used to play volleyball with him. Roy McMurtry, he was a friend of Peter Zosky, who was living on the island, the broadcaster Peter Zosky, who was living on the island. And so, I think he kind of knew who we were. But yes, we had erected we had acquired World War II siren, and we had erected it on top of the clubhouse. And so when we got the word that the sheriff was actually coming, we set off the siren, and everybody had a place they had to go to protect the community when the siren went off. And then there was also a telephone tree that phoned all the people working in the city and let them know that the sheriff was coming, and they all came home to protect their home or to do some other part of the project that was needed. Because we had people at every entry point that we thought the sheriff might arrive, we had people waiting to. And but at some point we learned that he was coming through the airport and in a car, and of course he was in a car and coming this way. So we all then gathered at the bridge. I think there were 300 people at the bridge. And we had done a lot of exercises to prepare ourselves for it. One thing we did was hire a troupe of actors to play the sheriff and the police. We didn't tell them what we were going to do to defend ourselves. They didn't tell us what they were going to do to come and evict us. So it was a kind of an exercise. And then we all gathered at the community center to discuss what we learned. And one of the actors said, I got off a boat at the Eastern Gap and I started to walk down the Lakeshore Road. And the first person I met was a lady with a baby in a stroller. And I just said, I can't do this. I can't be throwing mothers and babies out of their homes, So we took that to be a good clue as to what might be effective. So if you look at the pictures of the day that the sheriff came, you'll see that all of the children are right in the front row, and they're right in front of them. There's a sign that says "Save Us, Bill Davis," because Bill Davis was the Premier of Ontario at the time, and he was the guy that was going to have to intervene to stop the Metropolitan Toronto from evicting us. It would have to be his action. So that's why we had the sign saying "Save Us, Bill Davis." There's another shot of that, which gives you a little more of a sense of the crowd. You see all the kids in the front line there, and 300 people. But the kids were there, and they, I think it was effective. And here we are just waiting for the sheriff to arrive, and here's the sheriff getting out of his car and walking toward us. The sheriff had died. The actual sheriff had died fairly recently, around that time. So who we were dealing with was the acting sheriff, Bremner, and the deputy sheriff, Kashuba. So those were the two guys who came to the sort of line up at the bridge where we had all gathered to meet them. And interestingly enough, we didn't know, the executive didn't figure out what the hell we were going to say to the sheriff before. And so when he came toward us, well, there was a lot of media there. First of all, he was swamped by the media. So once that was over, he came and spoke. I was in the front. He spoke to me, and I said, And the purpose of his visit was to deliver writs of possession, eviction notices. So he wasn't coming to get the people out of the houses. He was coming to deliver this paper, which gave you so much time, and then they would come and get you and kick you out. We thought it'd be a good idea to stop him at that point, rather than, it would be less problematic to stop him delivering the papers than it would be to stop him from dragging people out of the houses, because he could have had police with him to help him drag people out of the houses if he'd wanted to, or if he needed them. So we had, our lawyer had gone to court because we believed that the writs of possession that he was delivering were expired. So I said to the acting sheriff and the deputy sheriff that I explained to them that we had gone to court, telling the judge that we thought they'd expired, and the judge had said he'd make his decision in 24 hours, within 24 hours. So I said, we're just asking you to go back to your office for 24 hours until the judge makes his decision. And then if he does decide that the eviction notices are valid, then, you know, we'll have to do this all over again. But if he decides otherwise, we won't. So it makes sense to wait until he makes his decision. And he just said, okay, and turned around and left. Jumped in his car and drove off. And I think he was shaking more than I was. He was pretty nervous. You know, well, wouldn't you be? If you know, I didn't think he was in a very happy situation. We certainly weren't, but neither was he.
So there's a